Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. Let's have a look at Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, and then we'll do a 7-star level 120 review of Rena, the character from the collaboration with Star Ocean. And in getting ready to do this video, I was trying to remember why I pulled for Rena specifically the first time the collaboration came along. I don't know anything about Star Ocean, and then at the time I didn't feel like I needed a healer because I had Ayaka, she was doing everything for me then. And then I remembered why. I wanted the Trustmaster, the Knuckles of Hope. This is a fist with a very high spirit rating, which is pretty rare. At the time, I was obsessed with Leela. I had 2 of her, and I was chaining her together to basically destroy everything. And then, yeah, these Knuckles of Hope are they're maybe the best weapon for Leela. But since a couple of King Mog events ago, chaining 2 Leelas together was not strong enough to one-punch everything. So I put those Leelas away, and then I turned to A2 and Laswell. But I still use these fists with Bosch sometimes, when he is a magic tank in particular, because he likes spirit. And then Rena got her 7-star, so of course I can use this again with her. And then the Star Ocean banner is probably going to be the last limited banner that I ever pull on. I pulled my first Rena when I wasn't too worried about the 7-star meta at that time, and then she performed great as a 6-star. And then, yeah, I was kind of basically hoarding for Rena when she came around again, and I was very lucky to get her. But I just don't want to deal, especially as a free-to-play player, with trying to get 2 copies of a 5-star during a limited banner. I know that there's going to be the Trust Coin system in the future, but even then, it's not worth, going after that. So yeah, Rena might be the last limited character that I ever pull. So first, I think I'll talk about how I used her as a 6-star. And yeah, she's mainly a healer. She's pretty good at that. As we can see here, she can dual cast most of her abilities. And then the abilities that I used the most was the Fairy Light. This is like a Curaja for all of your party. I can give pretty much full HP to all of them. Fairy Healing is great. This is a single target healing, and it does 100% HP heal. This is pretty great because it's future-proof, basically. Even if, like, in a couple years, tanks have like 50k HP, this will still give that tank full hit points, so that's pretty great. Raise Dead, that is just a raise. And then Enhanced Dispel, this is maybe my favorite skill of hers. It's an Esunaga, plus it cures Stone, and it cures Stop. That's pretty crazy. Ayaka does have something like similar to this. Let's see if I can bring her up. That is, I think, Purify Plus. Yeah, Stone and Stop. But this is a cooldown skill, so you can't use it every turn. And then also, Purify Plus cannot be dual cast, because Ayaka only has dual cast for spells. So yeah, Rena can use that every turn, and also part of a combo. So she can raise guys in addition to getting rid of Stop, or she can heal guys and then do, get rid of Stop or whatever. So very, very powerful ability here. Power Up and Guard, I use these if I had nothing else to do. Reflection is maybe my second favorite skill of hers as a 6-star. Boosts everybody's spirit by, I think, 80%, which is not great. You know, the top tier buffers can do like 120 or 130 or whatever. But if you had no other spirit buff, this would be fine. But it reduces magic damage. This is magic damage mitigation for 20% to all of your allies for 5 turns. That's pretty great. And then at the time that Rena 6-star came out, I think magic mitigation was still pretty rare. There was like overall damage mitigation and like physical mitigation, but not so much magic. And then I would generally use that on turns also when I didn't have anything to do. But since it lasts for 5 turns, I didn't have to use it very often. And then there's laser beams and star flare here. These are light element attacks, but not really great for damage, and they can't chain with anything, I think. So I just use them to complete the missions, you know, deal light damage or something. Silence here is very interesting. This can absorb spells. So this can absorb like Ultima from that Brachiosaur. There's not a lot of situations where this is going to be good, but where it is good, it's going to be, you know, one of a kind. It can really save your bacon. This is one of the few skills that can't be dual cast by her. And then, Descendant of, I don't know how to pronounce that, but this is really great. She can take, critical damage and go to 1 HP instead of 0, so that can save you like a re-raise or something. So yeah, basically as a 6-star, I would, dual cast with her every turn. If I needed healing or raising, I would use that. If I needed the Dispel, I would use that. And yeah, just some kind of combination of that. Alright, so next let's look at her Limit Break. This will remove status debuffs, and then also buff your stats for all allies, and then give an HP and MP regen. Buffs on limit breaks I'm not a fan of for some reason, and then they're usually the stat that gets upgraded when you upgrade a limit break. As you can see, I have not leveled up her limit break. I also haven't done Nicole or Zargabath. It just doesn't excite me very much. The remove status debuffs, that's maybe my favorite thing of her limit break, because like more and more we're seeing that bosses do that to us. And that can be kind of a pain in the neck for your tanks or your damage dealers in particular. So I do like that, that skill. And then the HP and MP regen, that's fine. But as a 6-star, this was her only option to restore MP for your party. So it was pretty important for that as well. The big things that she is missing as a 6-star was re-raise, either single target or hit all. And then she was also missing Dispel, also single target or hit all. So I would often use Rena like in conjunction with somebody else. So like maybe bring Duke to get the re-raise, or I could use Bushido Freedom or Odin's Finger Snap to get the Dispel. So yeah, Rena needed a little bit of support when I was using her. And I've actually used her with Ayaka before. Ayaka would basically focus on like the Dispel and the re-raise, while Rena would do the more standard healing and Esunaga and stuff. I did that in Tetrasylphid, the 3-star version, and that worked pretty good. But now let's look at her 7-star abilities. So she gets an upgraded raise. This will be a raise to everybody, that's fine. This can also be dual cast, so. And then, and Shelter, this is interesting. This is another damage mitigation, but this is an overall. So this will actually work with the magic mitigation. And then you can also dual cast this, so you could do this, plus the magic mitigation to get kind of like weird overall damage mitigation. And then Cure All, this one's really interesting. This is a, another HP MP regen. And then like the same icon here that we see with a lot of other characters' similar ability, but Rena's costs much more, and the reason for that is because you get much more HP and MP back every turn. And yeah, outside of the limit break, this is going to be the other only way that Rena can restore HP or MP to your allies. So this is pretty important, and that was maybe kind of another thing that was a weak point about her 6-star, which was fixed with the 7-star. And then there's Haste. This is crazy. This is like using a Duke's Pouch. You give 200% limit break gauge fill to everybody. So yeah, for a lot of people, that was the only reason to use that item. Now, if you use Rena, you don't even need it. So this is pretty great. This can also be part of a dual cast. So yeah, Rena's quickly becoming like a healer plus a support character. Fixed Cloud does not seem very good from what I hear people say, so I'm not even going to talk about that. It might be good in Arena since it does stop. And then Mother's Protection. This is the AoE re-raise ability that she picks up as a 7-star. It's 1 every 6 turns. It can be cast on turn 1. So, you know, you do get the AoE re-raise, but you have to kind of plan ahead for when you want to use it. Like you're waiting for a threshold, or you're taking down a guy with like a counterattack that does like death or something. So yeah, you can't spam this. And then you still might want to bring another character with re-raise if you really needed it for a fight. Like if you're fighting the bombs in the folk bonus stages, you might need more re-raise than just once every 6 turns. But it's good to have that here as an option. And then here, this is kind of the most oddball, most interesting skill of Rena 7-star. Light Cross. This is a AoE light damage attack which chains with dual cast Divine Ruination. So that's pretty crazy. This skill cannot be dual cast, so you cannot use the skill in addition to like a heal or an Esanaga or something. So it is kind of limited how much you can access this ability. You have to kind of like wait for a turn where you know you're not going to need any other support abilities from her. But yeah, AoE Divine Ruination. For one thing, there's not a lot of characters that can do that. But that doesn't stop you from chaining it with a single target Divine Ruination. But yeah, this is a very interesting ability to have. And then if you know me, you know that I like to use chaining on sort of like support characters or tanks. I don't like to use dedicated chainers. So to have this chaining option on my healer is very, very interesting. It is a little limited because it is light damage. If you had like 2 of Rena, or if you had Citra, the 7-star, she also has an AoE light damage Divine Ruination attack. You could chain those 2 together. And then you could finish it with a light element finisher, like Veritas of the Light, or maybe give like Olive or somebody like a light weapon and do an AoE finish. That would be pretty cool. So yeah, that's an idea for how to use this one. But yeah, thinking about how to free up Rena to give her like a free turn in order to use that Light Cross. And then setting it up so that you wouldn't need a healer for that turn. Cure All might be the answer. You know, it's a regen, so it'll last for a few turns to give you HP and MP back. And then because the cost is so high, it does give you that extra HP. On my Rena here, who has about 1700 Spirit, this will give you about 4000 HP per turn from the regeneration. That's very, very high for a regeneration. And yeah, if it's enough to get you through the next turn or the next 2 turns, then yeah, you could turn Rena into an AoE chainer during that time. But yeah, overall, Rena is a 6-star. She was really great, but actually I found that there were more than a few turns where she kind of had nothing to do. You know, everybody had full life, everybody was standing, and then they already had the magic mitigation up, so she didn't have a lot to do during those turns. But now with so many other abilities, like regen, overall damage mitigation, limit break boost, she's pretty much always going to have something to do. You can even use her as a chainer on a free turn, so that's pretty great. The one thing that she still needs support with is Dispel, and then yeah, you can do that the way that I explained earlier. Use the Bushido Freedom, or Odin's Finger Snap, or you could even use like a single target Dispel option like Siren or somebody. And then some people like to ask, you know, they like to compare one character to another. One thing that I've seen a lot lately is who should I use, Nicole or Zargabath? Another comparison you can make is who should I use, Rena or Ayaka? For those type of questions, I always want to answer both. Just use whomever you feel like in the mood to use, or who might be better for the quest that you're going into. Because yeah, I think as I explained Rena here, she has some definite positives over Ayaka, but Ayaka has other positives, so it just depends on what you need for the quest, I would say. Okay, finally, let's take Rena to not the dummy, but to another place, and then we'll try out her regen, see how much we get there, and then we'll also look at her chaining. Okay, so here we are, not in the dummy. We are in the room of recollection. This is the vortex. You open the book, and then you go to wherever you want in the story beforehand. And then I like to come here sometimes, especially if I want to practice like AoE attacks. The dummy is just a single character, so you can't get a sense of AoE attacks there. But yeah, here we are. This one's kind of fun because we can fight some other story characters. If you also wanted to go into this fight, this is easier to remember. Season 2, Chapter 2, Part 2, The Path We Walk Together, I think. So 222, Path We Walk Together. But yeah, first let's use the super duper regen with Rena, and then see how much HP we get back every turn. It's going to be a little bit hard to tell because the MP is going to appear over it, but let's see what we get. Okay, so that looks like 4,000 to me. That's pretty darn good for a regen. And yeah, it could be good enough to tide you over for the next turn so that you can use her for chaining. Okay, next, let's look at the chaining. So I'll chain Rena with Laswell. So let's see. Light Cross. We only single cast that, but that does enough hits to chain with the dual cast or dual wield Divine Ruination of another character. On Laswell, that's Winter's Oblivion. So let's target Wilhelm, and then let's see what happens here. Okay, chain broke, but we got the idea. So yeah, Rena, she did a little bit of AoE damage on everybody, but then we got the concentrated chain on Wilhelm, so yeah. Okay, next, let's chain Rena with Hyo. And then, let's see, let's do the Servant of the Blade, I think it is. Okay, and then Hyo's Servant of the Blade, it counts as both single target and AoE. The single target, gets the full chain. I think the AoE just gets a single hit, so let's see if we can do that here. Okay, chain broke again in the middle. But we saw a little bit of a chain on Charlotte because the one hit was getting in between the two hits from Rena. Okay, let's head back in here, and then just as reference, I'll show you my team. Here's Hyo, about 2100 attack with a light weapon. And then Laswell, also 2100, also with a light weapon. Okay, but this time let's chain with Magna. He is a 4-star character, but he also has access to a dual cast AoE Divine Ruination with Light Element. We can activate that with Magic Amplification, so let's do that. We'll guard with everybody else. Hopefully Magna doesn't die. Okay. Alright, so let's dual cast this, and then we'll do Light Cross, and then let's see what kind of damage this does. Pretty good. And full chain too, unlike Laswell and Hyo. That just might be like a skills thing on my part, but yeah. So that might be an interesting option to bring Magna in order to sort of amplify Rena's damage with her chain as you use her as a healer. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about having Rena as a 7-star. I waited for her for a very long time, and yeah, she got even better than I was expecting. So yeah, hopefully she will show up in some clear videos that I take soon. Alright, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.